Hey everyone, thanks for joining Inside the Workflow. I am Joe Martin, the head of marketing over here at Zight, and really excited today to have Finn with me. Finn is head of product at Zight. And today we're going to be talking a little bit about product, how you can use customers to improve your product development, how you can improve your road mapping for product, and really just how everything works inside the workflow of product. So I'm going to go ahead and let Finn introduce himself, and then we will go ahead and do a couple of questions.
Yes, for sure. Thanks, Joe. So my name is Finn, or Seraphin. I'm based in Canada, hence the accent. I have been the head of product at Zight for the past few years. So I was a customer of Zight before that, when it was still called Cloud App. I've been in startups in and out of Montreal. Before that, I was a developer, then moved to product, then moved to being more of a product leader. So, I've built a lot of different products. I started building a lot of apps when the iPhone came out. I think that's where when a lot of people started their product journey. You start getting interested into it. So I started building some, shipping some. And that's how I moved also from developer to being a product manager, because I love, building nice little workflows and tools.
I love it. That's such a great backstory. I always love to hear how people kind of got into what they're doing. So thanks for sharing that. We're living in the world of like artificial intelligence, AI. Everyone is changing their company's names and changing their product names and everything. And really, with ChatGPT and other technologies, it puts a lot of us on a very similar plane. So I think customer experience is so valuable and so important to create that loyalty if we're all kind of using the same technology and have access to the same things. So what are some ways you incorporate customer feedback into your product development at Zight? And can you share some examples of how that's led to some improvements?
Yeah, for sure. So we have a simple process, I think, at Zight. The simpler, the better. That means it gets people to follow the process over time. First, making sure you have constant communication with customers. It's easier said than done. So the way we do it is we have some kind of like shared channel with the sales team and customer success. Usually after a call that was really insightful and gets us some feedback, we usually post into that channel. So it's a shared channel that anybody can just lurk into. And the way it works, I think, is really like passive learning. You see that feedback come in often and frequently. So when that happens, what we usually do is one of the product managers or people on the product team would just usually acknowledge like, okay, great feedback. Always connect that feedback with the roadmap item. And over time, we're building a database of X number of people actually request this feature. And you talked about AI. Actually, we started using more tools like ChatGPT, Storytel to just parse through the feedback and try to get some summary. So for us, AI actually comes at a later stage where it's more on the analysis of that customer feedback. The way we also try to get as much customer feedback as possible is like automated outreach. So whenever we ship something or whenever we want to build something, we usually try to find like lookalike audiences where like some customer might be interested in this new feature. So a concrete example is, for example, in December, we released a feature on the Mac where you have a little preview. So macOS introduced this a while ago. We looked at it. We're like, I think this is a great improvement. We need this in the Zight screenshot workflow. So we actually noticed that a lot of our customers were using a similar feature that we've had for years, which is on the annotations screen, you could already like drag and drop an image into a document. So we built an audience with that specific customer feedback. We send them an outreach email, and we either got with some of these users on a call. So it's easy. Like there's a lot of data already if you have a product out there where you can easily reach out to those customers. A lot of people are always happy to give feedback. At first, I was like, no one will reply to me. I'll be alone. But I think, if you have a good customers, loyal customers, and usually after you reach some kind of product market fit, you can reach out to those customers. And what we did was send them like a Figma file, get them to give us feedback. So either on a call or send us a video back. And that was a great way to build an even bigger database of customer feedback, because usually they would give us feedback. And on top of it, we would ask, anything else we can do for you? And then they all had like a big list of, other things that would make their workflow better. So I think that's how you can like build a database of knowledge, and over time it builds the whole team's product sense. Usually you already have some tools or some customers that have, a burning need. You just need to go and find them.
I love that. And one thing, to build on that, one thing I've always loved that Zight Cloud App has done is having that public Trello board where people can really engage and give thumbs up, thumbs down, comment, and kind of like look at the product roadmap. It's very public. That's kind of another hot trend, for the last few years as a startup, is just building in public and making sure you're accessible to everyone.
Yeah, I completely forgot that. Yeah, we also have that public roadmap where a lot of users, upvote or even comment on existing features, and we can get some knowledge there. We don't put our full internal roadmap, of course. We have a lot of cool things, coming. But yeah, of course, a public roadmap is a great way to start showing that you're out there, and your users all use it differently. So you need to see how they're using your product, and it's really informative.
So Zight has over 5 million customers who've engaged with the product in some way since it started, and across every industry, from the random gamer to someone doing heavy stuff at a large tech company to healthcare. What are some ways that you really try and distill and take in all that information, and really kind of what are some of the most valuable lessons you've learned about understanding what each customer need is and like how to prioritize doing those things?
Yeah, so and 100% of the common problem that some products have, which is some people use your product the way it was designed to, and some people use your product the way it wasn't designed to. And usually that's when you can see if you can like pivot, or if you can like maybe open up your product to a wide range of customers. So you mentioned, like sometimes people use Zight on their own. They just want to have some screenshots. Sometimes they use it at a large corporation, or like you're a big company like Figma, and you just want to, share your designs and share like how a new feature will work with coworkers. So we're a really horizontal product where we can help the little guy, lack of a better term, like we can help the little person in a company work better, or a team. So the one thing that I did learn at Zight, especially because we have so many use cases, is everybody has their own way of working and their own bias towards how they work. So they want your product to work exactly how they want to work. But if you are serving different use cases, not always possible to do. So we try to give a lot of flexibility in our product, which goes with its pros and cons. Like if you go really deep and narrow as a company, you might lock yourself in. But if you go broad, you might be too broad of a tool. So we try to really always have a balance, and then see, I think a good rule of thumb in product is like, will this help at least 80% of the customers that we want to serve? And yeah, if it helps most of your persona, most of your customers, usually it's something on our roadmap, and we're gonna build it. But it's a great like rule of thumb where it goes on the roadmap, or we don't even consider it on the roadmap, and usually it's like great feedback, but we usually have a good discussion with the customer after that.
And obviously, like data is a big thing. We've got lots of access to data. How do you kind of incorporate? So like you just talked about the qualitative, like really understanding what customers are saying with the interviews. How do you pair that with data to make it a really good, solid decision?
Yeah, so we don't have a specific data team at Zight. All PMs and most people are data driven by nature, which is awesome. Everybody has access to Amplitude and Longevity, like all the different tools we use to ship some version of test or some version of a feature. So I think the way we use data is really informative, on the direction, but it's not dictating exactly what we do. Like a lot of times, as a company, we have a mission, we have a vision, we're trying to push forward. We just want to make sure that the data is just a little validation or like showing us that we're on the right track, but it's not dictating every single decision. Sometimes it's more, you need to tie it back to the vision and see, okay, does the data help us move towards that vision? Or if it's not, then we need to stop and see, are we building the wrong feature? Are we targeting the wrong type of customer with that feature? So we really use that data to see the friction, optimizing the business. But it's really a tool and not the only thing that we use. Like you said, like the qualitative feedback is also important. So we always use a mix of data and talking to users. Usually those two, within a few days of launching something, you can see if you're in the right direction or the wrong direction.
So much of product management is really like project management, right? Like you're taking in so many inputs of different information. How do you like sales and marketing is another piece of that? Like how you have, let's say you have a sales team who's like, oh, we've got this big enterprise client. They're really pushing us for this custom integration. I need your team to work on this, and you're focused on, product release that's supposed to go out a month later. How do you really kind of take in that input, work with sales and marketing to make sure that they're working with you well and kind of fit that with your other inputs?
Good question. That's like, a big part of product management. It's, your soft skills, how you integrate everybody to work with you, so everybody rows in the same direction. I would say it's always a work in progress. Like 6 months ago, now the process always evolves. I would say the main thing that you work on as a PM is like gaining trust from all of these people. So it can be being a bit more transparent. I think that's how I work. Like I try to show what's the process or like the thinking behind doing a feature or not doing it now. If that person needs some help telling the customer that it's not something we might do right now, or it's something we actually have on the roadmap, but here are other things that might help you that we actually prioritize instead. So I think the trust goes both ways, where I don't hesitate to go on these calls with the salesperson, and I don't just hide myself behind like a Jira board of like, here is the Jira list, just follow that list. It's, I think, being in the trenches with the customer success person, with the salesperson, with the marketing person, setting some limits, of course, like don't be on every sales call. I also learned that the hard way, being on every single call. But having some limits where you can gain trust with each other, go on a call. So see a bit what's the life of a salesperson, and you also at the same time show them how you prioritize things, which I think increases the trust as a whole. And the last thing that I would say is like simple processes beat every like 12-step process, because if not, you're losing trust into each other as well. Starts to become too complex, so you skip levels, you skip persons, you skip processes. So the simpler, the better. Just talk. Everybody's a human. Just talk to each other, and try to understand each other's perspective and biases.
I love that you brought up process, because that really is a big piece of it. It's like a lot of those things, if you add a teeny bit of friction or process, then maybe people figure it out on their own, or you figure out if they actually really need that feature, or if they're just kind of in the moment and feeling like they actually need it. So that's so important. How do you kind of pull those things together and create a product map that not only keeps feature parity with like competitors or things, but is thinking about market trends and staying ahead on innovation?
So that's a theme that we're all constantly thinking about, because your roadmap needs to serve your existing customers, and also you should not fall behind. So it's always like a hard balance to do, especially in like smaller teams. For us, what helps me guide the roadmap is that we are focusing on enterprise, and bigger teams are a large chunk of our users. So adapting trends super quick usually does disservice to our customer, where, you know, AI, it was great. We now have like a Zight add-on with AI, but we took longer to build it because we spent more time on security. How is the data transfer? We're SOC 2 Type 2 compliant. How do you ensure that we're actually not regressing in some ways and losing trust with customers as well? So I would say for us, what helps me is if one of the main people that we're trying to serve are teams and enterprises of many sizes, we need to make sure that we adopt a trend when it matures a little bit. So not be the super early adopter, but have some kind of like exploration work. So always, you know, whenever ChatGPT was launched, we started looking at some proof of concept, building them on the side. But until the time it's a proof of concept and it goes into product, we basically sometimes need to take a step back, look at like the trend as a whole. Where is it going? Like, is it a trend going, you know, like crypto that might die and then come back? Or is it something more like Gen AI where it's actually exploding? It's still on an uptrend and there are more ideas coming every day. So I think it's just being slow and careful if you're targeting big enterprises where security and, you know, privacy is one of the top concerns. So that's where we are. That's why, you know, I prefer to have a solid product, stable, with nice workflows that you can rely on, versus being the latest and greatest tool that changes every month or so. So that's where we're positioned. But on some features, of course, we always have a little playground where we can try stuff. If, you know, you're listening to this and you're interested, we always, you know, are looking for alpha, beta users for these features. But by the time it's broadly adopted, usually we try to be slow and wait for security compliance. You know, if we're HIPAA compliant, SOC 2 compliant, we just want to make sure we're not, we're still putting a priority on them.
I love how you said just finding a balance of like, yeah, having that R&D focus on certain things, but also not being so tied to the trends in some way. I mean, if we were tied to the trends of 10 years ago, like we would have thought virtual reality was the biggest thing that we need to, or augmented reality was the biggest thing we need to focus on. And that was going to be changing the world and how people shopped and all those things.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't have a VR device. I don't know any of
I
my.
actually do. I actually bought one and it's great, but it's a lot of on and off, you know, like
Limited. Yeah.
there's something new, let's all try it. But if you go on the street and ask most people, I don't think they know that the Meta Quest 3 is really cool when you try to go golf. Like, it's fun, you go golf, I do it every night, but that's it. Then, you know, the work use cases, I think, are not there yet. So I would prefer to prioritize some stability work versus having the Apple Vision Pro for Zight out. We looked into it again, you know, we keep an eye on it. We're not like saying no, but we need to look into it, be careful. And one day maybe we'll have AR, you know, take a video of what you're looking at in AR. That could happen.
I love it. Yeah, that's totally the right focus. It's just making sure your customers are getting the work done they need to, but also like having a foot in innovation and always kind of looking for the right path.
100%.
Been epic conversation, my friend. Thanks so much for your time, and hopefully everyone gets some good information about leading a product team and really making sure that collaboration is strong.
All right. Thank you all. Thanks, Joe.